You're listening to Everything Out There with your host, Steve Stockton.
Hello, friends. Michigan, the Wolverine State. Many fond memories of childhood trips to Michigan. My mom's brother, Tom, went north after World War II looking for work. Found a job at General Motors. Actually retired from there after 30-something years, I think. Worked in several different facilities there, but last place was at the Cadillac plant, where he was a die operator, pressing out the hoods for mid-1970s Cadillacs. Got to tour some of the plants up there when they had their family days. Heat Treat was one of the hottest places I've ever been in. Michigan was a land of wonder, land of amazement. Trips to the Ford Museum, the Detroit Zoo. All fondly remembered going up as a child. First time I was 5 years old. Quite a trip. Driving from Tennessee to Michigan. We'd either go up through Ohio in that direction, or maybe swing through Indiana and visit my dad's sister, who was a teacher at Ball State. Her husband worked at Warner Gear. But Michigan was a truly magical place for me as a child. Enjoyed 2 or 3 weeks every summer until 1976, the bicentennial year. That was the last time I was in Michigan as a child visiting my uncle. Remember the license plates that year. They were made up for the bicentennial in kind of a representation of an American flag. Well, after 76, my uncle retired and they moved to Florida, Port Richey. 1979, we went down to visit him for the Christmas holidays. And my uncle was wealthy. He'd saved all his money, invested in a lot of stocks and commodities, gold, silver, things like that, and old coins. A millionaire several times over by the time he retired. Bought properties in Michigan and Florida, used them as rentals. But that Christmas, I was 16 years old, gathered around the tree. My uncle handed me a gift. It was in the shape of a license plate, gift wrapped. And I thought, oh boy, my rich uncle Moneybags here has bought me a car. I gleefully opened the package, only to find that it was that 1976 plate from Michigan that he had had on his Cadillac. I tried not to express my disappointment. But as I looked to him, he said, I want you to take that plate and hang it on your wall and look at it every day and realize that you too can get a new Cadillac every 2 years if you work hard and save your money and invest wisely. Again, I was disappointed. I thought I'd be going back to Tennessee with a car instead of just an old used license plate. But it did give me a valuable lesson. And Uncle Tom, I want to thank you for instilling that work ethic in me. Show me that there is a future to plan for. While many of us tend to live just in the here and now, he gave me the dream, the thought that, yeah, I too could have a new Cadillac every 2 years. Thanks, Uncle Tom, you old chiseler. So today we're talking about the great state of Michigan. Now, it's not all fun and games. There's some strange stuff there, too. I've got a whole list of here. Michigan, land of Great Lakes, sprawling forests, and the unexplained. Beneath the surface of scenic beauty and Midwestern charm lies a world of strange occurrences, chilling encounters, and mysteries that defy logic. From the depths of Lake Michigan to the dense woods of the Upper Peninsula, stories whisper on the wind of creatures that stalk the night, spirits that refuse to rest, and phenomena that challenges our understanding of reality. So join us as we journey into the unknown, exploring the eerie and enigmatic side of the Wolverine State. Now, a few of the things that I came up with we'll be discussing here shortly. I have a guest tonight who's a native Michigander, born and raised there, from the paranormal phenomena of the Paulding Light, which is a mysterious light seen in the Upper Peninsula near Paulding that has no definitive explanation. Find pictures of it on YouTube. To the Dog Man, a creature resembling a werewolf sighted in various parts of Michigan, particularly the northern Lower Peninsula. And that's the thing, if you meet somebody from Michigan, they'll hold up their hand, and because Michigan's kind of in the shape of a mitten, and they'll point to the part of the hand, or their hand, where they live in Michigan. I always loved that. The Ada Witch, a ghostly figure said to haunt the town of Ada, often seen near the cemetery. And then there's the Beeson Mansion and Crypt, a reportedly haunted mansion in Niles, Michigan, with stories of ghostly apparitions and strange occurrences. And then Jackson, Michigan, is the home to Little Mary's grave, a grave said to be haunted by the ghost of a young girl with reports of mysterious lights and sounds. And then there's the South Lion Hotel ghost, a ghost said to haunt the South Lion Hotel with reports of objects moving and doors slamming shut. And then there's the Holly Hotel ghost. A ghost named Nora is said to haunt the Holly Hotel with reports of apparitions and unexplained noises. From the cryptozoological side, there's sightings of Bigfoot, various parts of Michigan, but again, particularly the Upper Peninsula, the UP, as the Upers like to refer to it. And there's the Michigan Melonheads, legends of small humanoid creatures with large heads said to inhabit the woods of Michigan. Now, the origin of that legend in Holland, Michigan, there were children with the head-enlarging disease hydrocephalus that were locked away in an asylum but were released sometime in the early 70s. Now they're said to be feral and hide in the forest nearby. And then there's the Thunderbird, a giant bird-like creature reportedly sighted in Michigan just as well as other parts of the United States. Michigan has UFO sightings, too. There was a flap in 1994 where a series of mass sightings of strange lights in the sky was reported all across Michigan. And then the Battle Creek UFO incident, a 1966 sighting of a UFO by police officers in Battle Creek, Michigan. If you like cereal, you know about Battle Creek. And then also in 1966, there was the Dexter UFO incident. That was a sighting of a UFO by multiple witnesses in Dexter, Michigan. Now, there's some strange disappearances there, too. One of the most infamous is that of Jimmy Hoffa in 1975. Famous labor leader vanished, and his body has never been found. And there's many, many theories. One of the most common is that he's buried in the end zone of Meadowlands Stadium in New Jersey, entombed in concrete. Now, one of the last trips to Michigan, this had just happened, and my uncle drove us by the restaurant where Hoffa was last seen. It's called The Fox and the Hounds. Now, that's supposedly a sly reference to a certain Italian men's club and the police that chase them. The men's club of Italian gentlemen being the Fox, and the Hounds being law enforcement, the FBI, the police, and whatnot. Anyway, I'll probably do a separate episode at some point on Jimmy Hoffa. And then there's the Lake Michigan Triangle, an area in Lake Michigan where several ships and airplanes have vanished without a trace. And then there's mystery spots. There's one in St. Ignatz. It's a tourist attraction. You've seen these in other states. There's one in Oregon. There used to be one in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's where the laws of physics seem to be defied with balls rolling uphill and people appearing to change height. A lot of it's just forced perspective and tricks of the eye, but it's fun to think about. And then there's Sleeping Bear Dunes. Legends of a mother bear and her cubs who drowned in Lake Michigan, and their spirits are said to still haunt the dunes. And then Hell's Bridge in Algoma Township. The bridge is said to be haunted by the ghost of a man who hanged himself nearby. And then there's the Eloise Asylum, a former psychiatric hospital with a dark history, reportedly haunted by former patients. Here's a few unexplained events from Michigan. The Great Lakes Ghost Ship. Sightings of a ghostly ship sailing on the Great Lakes with no clear origin or explanation. Excuse me. And then there's the Michigan Dogman radio broadcast. 1987, there was a mysterious radio broadcast featuring a strange growling sound and a voice claiming to be the Dogman. Now, how about that? Then there's the Michigan Moving Coffins. It's a series of incidents in the 1800s where coffins in a cemetery mysteriously moved around of their own accord or were found out of place. And as like in other states, I know there's one of these in Oregon and the one in Taos, New Mexico. Michigan has its own mystery hum, a low-frequency humming sound. It's heard by some residents in various parts of Michigan with no clear source. And there are Michigan time slips, reports of people experiencing missing time or feeling like they've traveled through time in certain areas of Michigan. And like the Ozarks and Brown Mountain, Michigan has its own mystery lights, often seen in the forest, strange lights with no clear explanation. Now that's just a few of the many unexplained events and mysteries that have been reported in Michigan. Whether you're a believer in the paranormal or not, these stories are sure to pique your curiosity and leave you wondering about the unknown. So without further ado, let's bring our guest in here. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is Steve Stockton with you on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero Radio Network. You're listening to Everything Out There. Thank you.
On the airwaves, Steve Stockton roams. Tales of ghosts and haunted homes. Through the static, weirdness flows. Mysteries in the dark it shows. Whispered voices late at night.
Hey, everybody. Steve Stockton here with you. Everything Out There on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero Radio Network. How you doing? Glad you could join us tonight. Going to be talking about the great state of Michigan. Now, Michigan, land of Great Lakes, sprawling forest, and the unexplained. Beneath the surface of scenic beauty and Midwestern charm lies a world of strange occurrences, chilling encounters, and mysteries that defy logic. From the depths of Lake Michigan to the dense woods of the Upper Peninsula, stories whisper on the wind of creatures that stalk the night, spirits that refuse to rest, and phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality. So join us as we journey into the unknown, exploring the eerie and enigmatic. Join us as we journey into the unknown, exploring the eerie and enigmatic side of the Wolverine State. We're going to delve into all kinds of eyewitness accounts, local legends, expert opinions, try to find some answers to Michigan's most baffling mysteries. Are you ready to face the unexplained? And joining me tonight, my buddy Sam, who's lives in Michigan. I don't know if he's a native Michigander or not, but come on in here, Sam. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Steve? Thanks for having me.
Doing good. Yeah, glad to have you on here. Now, I've visited Michigan quite a few times as a kid. I had an uncle born in Tennessee, one of my mom's brothers, that went north after the war for work and ended up working for General Motors. Not sure, he switched around to several different places, but he retired from the Pontiac plant. He was the dye presser that pressed out the hoods for the new Cadillacs, and spent a lot of summers up there. They lived in Pontiac and Drayton Plains, so I had some good times there. And then back about a dozen or so years ago, I went with a friend of mine from Las Vegas to watch their daughter graduate from high school, and went to St. Clair Shores, and that's close to where you're at, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually where I was born and raised, and I'm a native Michigander.
Okay, that St. Clair is a nice little place. I like that. Now, the high school that the person's daughter went to was Yale. You ever heard of Yale High School?
I know of Yale, Michigan, not in St. Clair Shores. I'm not aware.
Yeah, it was just outside St. Clair Shores. I can't remember the little town, but that looked good on a resume. That she'd be applying for jobs, and oh, you graduated from Yale, but it was Yale High School, not Yale University. But nice little psyop there. So you heard my intro there, talking about some strange things in Michigan there. Now, my aunt, the one I was talking about, that they lived there in Pontiac and Drayton Plains, she was a real estate agent, and she had to show some houses like where people have been murdered and have their livers cut out and things like that. She didn't like going into Detroit, but she did when she had to. But I'm not surprised that there's not more hauntings than there are there and other creatures. Now I've got a list here, or we can just take off and you can talk about whatever comes to your mind. Is there something in particular, phenomena,
Well,
legend, folklore that you know about?
well, there is something that happened to my family. I don't know. My dad might be able to explain it better. But have you heard of Knock Knock Street, Hamtramck?
No, I know of Hamtramck, but I haven't heard of Knock Knock Street. But that sounds intriguing. Clue us in on that one, Sam.
Well, this is also from my dad's childhood. He grew up in Hamtramck, and oh, the name slipping my mind right now of the actual road, but I guess a bunch of teenagers would always go down that street, and a child, I believe, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, was killed or murdered on that street. And if you go down the street, and obviously you go at night, and you would like all the car doors, especially back then, the banging on those big old Cadillac doors or Lincoln, whatever you drove, it would sound like, I don't know, like almost like beating a drum. And my dad went down there, and nothing happened to him, but my aunt said it happened to her, and you can hear well, supposedly you could hear the little girl screaming, and then all your doors. It's not really scary, but it would freak me out. I haven't been, and the only other thing I can think of is my whole family, my grandpa, my grandma, my dad, and his three sisters, or two sisters and brothers, sorry, Aunt Vicky, Aunt Val, Uncle Tony, all went to a place in Marion, Michigan. Coincidentally, that's our last name. And they stayed on went to a friend's cabin. And I don't even know where to start.
So a lot of strange things happened in this cabin. Now, was this in the Upper Peninsula? I've been up in what they call the North Woods, and there's some strange stuff in the Upper Peninsula. You know any Yoopers?
I would have to look up Marion, Michigan, but it's up further up north. Like we're down, like lower, like if you hold your right hand out, St. Clair Shores, you know where that's at, lower southeast Detroit area. But they went there. Actually, I think my dad would tell it best because he actually went through it, and actually it ended up being an Indian burial ground, but they didn't know it at the time. They went there, everything was fine, like the first couple days. Then like the curtains would start moving. The dog would stare at the ceiling. I believe it was Lady. It was Irish Setter. She would just stare at the ceiling and then bark like one of those your neighbor's dog that wouldn't be quiet in the middle of the night. And
did you say the
my Aunt
dog's name
Val,
was Lady?
yep.
A little bit of synchronicity there. My uncle that lived up there, he had a dog named Lady, and it was some kind of a spaniel or terrier. I don't remember what it was, but he had several dogs named Lady. And just strange. So I got a picture of me and Ed eating popcorn when I was about 5 years old out of the same bag. That's just weird little. Maybe that was a popular name for a dog back then.
Yeah, and they had it was Lady or Beezy. I had two Beezy. Well, he had a Beezy, and then we just had a Beezy. But and then up there, they were actually just going on all like a march, just walking, or not march, but like walking through on a hike. And all of a sudden, I don't know why, but they marched through this field, and a stampede of bulls and cows like rushed everyone.
Oh no!
And then they all, thank goodness, they all made it over the fence. But like they were charging like almost like a National Geographic, like holy smokes. And some guy pulled up next to him. Some guy happened to be driving down the road. He had one eye, and he asked, "You guys need a ride back to the cabin or anything?" And my grandpa sent my grandma and my Aunt Val with him because my grandpa didn't trust the dude. I don't know why he would do that, but they ended up all back at the cabin safe and everything. And I guess they were having duck that night, and they threw it on the pit, and the duck would not burn. And my grandpa, old school Italian, just more lighter fluid. I'm going to fry this duck, and it would not burn. And then I guess later on that night, they were still out there, I guess, roasting, making s'mores. And then they looked out into the woods surrounding the cabin, and nothing but red eyes. My dad grabbed the spotlight, shined it on the woods. He was 10 maybe back then, and there was nothing. And then that same night, they went inside, and for some reason, I think it was either my dad or my grandfather went to the kitchen, and there was a stick, and it said Val on it, which is my dad's oldest sister, my Aunt Val. And then my grandpa, it was my grandpa, he saw the stick, and he freaked out, like, who would put a stick in the middle of the kitchen with his daughter's name on it? He was a pretty big dude, 6'2", maybe 250 back then. He launched it as far as he could into the forest. Very next morning, they go to make breakfast. Stick was back in the kitchen. And so my grandpa, he was super religious, and he started to feel weird after, like, something ain't right here.
Yeah, that's spooky. A stick with a name on it. Yeah, I don't, especially, just under those circumstances. That's just some strange stuff up there. And somehow I feel this is all related to the Indian burial ground. Possibly. I mean, who knows?
Hey, Dad, how far is Marion, Michigan? Is it north?
Huh?
How far is Marion, Michigan? North? What, about a 2-hour drive from here?
Yeah.
All right, so probably 2 hours north of St. Clair, or 100 miles away.
Okay. I know about where it is. I love it. Anytime you ever meet somebody from Michigan, they hold up their hand and they'll point to a spot and say, I live here. And I get that. When I worked for Nickelodeon, I worked with a lady named Holly, and I don't know. She showed me on her hand where she was from, but around her neck, she had a Petoskey stone, and I recognized it. I used to have some of those that I brought back with me. and that's I think the state rock. And she was just amazed that I knew what a Petoskey stone was. But I
Yeah, they're
looked that
beautiful.
up about yeah, especially if you polish them up real nice and stuff. They're put do a
Yeah.
gym cleaner, gym tumbler, rock tumbler. Now, I did find some information here about Knock Knock Road. It says it's so named for what you'll allegedly experience should you drive down it at night. A strange knocking sound on your car. Supposedly, the indication that a soul who lost their life on that stretch of road many, many years ago is still among us. But there's one problem here. No one is sure exactly where Knock Knock Road is, and location location tends to change depending on who's telling the story. And that's like down south. There's crybaby bridges. Every little town, every little community, every little wide spot in the road's got a legend of a crybaby bridge. And again, depending on who you ask, you'll be directed to a different place. I've been to several of them. And did you know of any?
My dad.
Yeah.
Did you find it's Gallagher Street is where in Hamtramck it's supposed to be?
Okay. There's one in Detroit too, apparently.
Oh.
So
Yeah, Hamtramck's a little city inside of Detroit.
yeah, I've
It's
been
a big
there.
Polish community.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the worst part about going back to the Marion, Michigan, when this my grandpa's like, "All right, time to pack up. Let's go." My Aunt Vicky, like, I can't do the voice, but she, yeah, Linda Blair comes to mind. She went, "No," like,
oh wow.
and then
I added a creep factor there.
that was later, Dad. Yeah, oh, it was a Springer Spaniel. Yep, and then the dog started like.
I think that's what my uncle had. It's some type of spaniel.
Hey, Steve, do you mind? My dad's name's also Sam. He would have better recollection because it actually happened to him. Is it okay to put him on?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, where's your speaker? Hi, Steve. It's Big Sam.
Hey, Big Sam. Steve Stockton here with you on everything out there on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero radio network. Little Sam there was telling us some spooky things that have happened there in Michigan. He said that you had a tale to tell it. You could probably tell it better. So, floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. This is the honest to God truth of what happened to myself, my mother, father, sisters, two sisters, my brother, my three cousins from Las Vegas were visiting Michigan. And this is back, I think, in the summer of 74. Yeah, I'd say 74 or 75. And we were going, excuse me, to a place. It's in like more close. It's Marion, Michigan, but it's more closer to Gaylord. And like everybody does, they point to a spot on their hand for Michigan. But if you put your hand like a Michigan mitt, right where the two lines, the line between the outs 4 fingers meet, that's pretty much where Gaylord's at. So mid upper Michigan. And there's a little town outside of that called Marion, Michigan. Now, my dad's friend invited us to come up there, the whole family, to stay at his cabin up there. And we were planning on say we were planning to go up there this Monday. My dad got a call, and his buddy Ralph told him, well, if you guys are willing and ready, the places are already yours if you want. And this is, of course, 3 days earlier than we expected to leave. But since my relatives were from Vegas, we want to jump at the opportunity. So we had head up there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful place. We had a great time. Very first thing we wanted to do is go for a hike. Well, first we unloaded, of course. It took us probably a good hour and a half to 2 hours to unload everything and pack in the upstairs bedroom and whatever we put everything. And then we went for our little hike, and along the hike, we found a stick. It was a walking stick. And it was really nice, too. It also seemed like it was polished and, all that stuff. And we looked at it, and we saw my sister's name on it, Valerie, who's my older sister. I have two sisters. The oldest one's Valerie, 2 years older than me. And then Vicky is my younger sister, 2 years younger than I am. And I'm the middle one. And then I have a brother, the youngest. His name's Tony. But anyway, so we looked at the stick, and my sister's name, Valerie, was carved into it. There were spiders on it, carved into it, snakes carved into it, a 666, believe it or not, carved into it. This is all the honest to God truth. And any family member that you'd be willing to receive a call from, they can also identify it, tell you the exact same happenings. So we started walking, and there was a nice little crook along the way, and it was ice cold water. And anybody who had that stick fell and tripped in that crook. I didn't think nothing of it. So we're continuing our little hike, and we ended up kind of getting lost. We ended up walking into this cow field with nothing but a bunch of bulls in a circle, probably about 60 yards away. And all we heard was like a bunch of, the sound of bulls went. And all of a sudden, my dad said, well, we better hurry up and get the hell out of here because they don't look very happy. And the second he said that, there were probably at least 50 of them all came charging at us.
Oh, wow.
And we snuck. And this was an electric fence too. We were so scared that we all got zapped by this electric fence, but we still made it through it because, our adrenaline was running so high. And as soon as we made it out of that field, an old pickup truck with two old people pull up. And this guy had one eye. Because he had a bunch of hay and stuff in the back. And his wife was in the other seat. So he ended up taking my mom. She went with him. They eventually came back. And so my mom drove the pickup truck back to where we were all at. But we had a camper cap on the back. Those old aluminum ones that all of us kids were stuffed in, traveling up north of Michigan, which all of us, when we were younger, everybody jumped in the back of a pickup truck with a cap on the back and with our sleeping bags and clothes and stuff. That's how we went up there. And on the way back to the cottage, or cabin, I was sitting between my mom and dad in the front seat, and a duck fell out of the sky and landed on my dad's hood of his truck. It was a green Chevy pickup truck he had. And there was just a clear fluid coming out of the duck's mouth, like it probably died of a heart attack or something. My dad, being a very avid, great hunter, I go, Dad, you want me to stop the truck and throw that off the truck? He goes, no, we'll keep it and cook it tonight. It's definitely fresh. It just fell out of the sky, It's kind of funny, We got back home. There's a big old brick bonfire pit in the front yard. Now, I might forget a couple things, so if I re-step my steps, it's because I forgot about them. But, so we're having a bonfire. The night goes by, we have a bonfire, and we're using charcoal with a little homemade grate, and the duck's starting to cook. My dad plucked it, and we noticed in the middle of the night, no lights are on, no nothing, just the fire from the fire pit. We notice a set of two eyes in a field. And this field's probably 20 yards from the house, and then probably an additional 30 yards from the house in that field, we've seen these two red eyes. And we're just sitting, not thinking of it, and having a good time, and these eyes start moving a little bit closer, and then a little bit closer. And I said to my dad, I go, Dad, because my dad's really superstitious, and he's very, very protective. And I go, Dad, you want me to go to the run of the truck? And we have a deer shining light, which we all had back then. You want me to sneak through the other door and plug the shining light in and give it to you? He goes, great idea, Sammy, which was my name back then. And I did that. And the second I didn't open the other door, just the driver's side door. The passenger side door was the side of where you were seeing the eyes. And I handed it through the window, and he turned his floodlight on, full blast, with the eyes still looking at us. And as soon as he turned it on, and we're all sitting there watching anxiously to see what it was, there was nothing there at all. It was probably a good 200-yard field of nothing but dirt. There wasn't an animal in sight, because he was spotting it right on there. It's just like turning on a light in your room, and bink, it disappeared. So my dad goes, all right, let's put this frickin' fire out. for lack of better words. And let's just put this freaking fire out. So we all go into the house and grab a bunch of pots of water and stuff and pour it on the duct and the coals. The coals did not shimmer, did not go out or nothing. They stayed red hot underwater for a good 10 minutes. No smoke, no nothing. Right there, my dad goes, man, this is a bad luck mother effing stick we found. So we all go back into the house, and my dad took the stick, and on the other side of the house is a whole bunch of woods. He threw it as hard as he could way up in there. You could hear it, smash the trees and everything. The hiking stick. And we all went to bed. Woke up the next morning, and the stick was leaning against the kitchen counter.
Yeah, the cursed stick.
You could not see the walking stick. Yeah, with my sister Valerie's name on it, the spiders and snakes carved on it. And there's no way, especially up north in Michigan, you can see anything in the woods. And I was out there with him because he always, everything he ever did, he always said, "Hey, Sammy, come with me." You know me. Like I was his little luck charm or something, or gave him some kind of confidence. But it was a good 4.5 feet tall, and he just whipped it out there. And my dad got up the next morning around 6:30 in the morning, and he said, "Who in the went out there and found the stick and brought it back in here?" It was leaning against the kitchen counter, and I'll guarantee you nobody left that cabin at that time because we're getting kind of spooked.
Yeah. Whatever
So
became of the
he put
stick,
it.
did they keep it or did they leave it there? Or
Who the owners?
yeah, the stick. Did they leave it there when they left, or what
No,
happened to the stick?
nobody has no idea where it came from. Now this comes a little bit further along in what I'm saying, because of that stick, we went to St. Germain's Church on Rockwood in St. Clair Shores. We lived on Elmdale, the street right before it, so that's a church that we visited. We asked them to do an investigation on what was going on after what I'm about to tell you that happened. So they did all this investigating and stuff. But before I get to all of that, we're sitting there and we had another day trying to shake things off, pretend like nothing happened. We're playing catch with a Nerf ball and kids are running around. And there was also a little camper, like one of those, what do you call it, those silver streamliner. And
Like an Airstream.
my dad thought, yeah, Airstream, there you go, yeah. And my dad thought his buddy Ralph was playing a joke on him. And before I get to that point, we all stood in the pictures, and we still have them in the slideshow kind of photos. We were all standing on all these mounds, taking pictures, real nice pictures and stuff. There were probably like 20 of them around the cabin, grass growing all over them and stuff. My dad goes, "All right, I know what it is. I know Ralph's up here trying to play a joke on us or something, or scare me." So my dad went to town, bought a padlock, put it on the door, shut all the curtains to the Airstream, and went to the barn to look to see if maybe there was something somebody could be staying at. As soon as he opened up the barn, a bat came flying out, bit him right between the eyes. So this is adding to the suspense and being scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something else.
Well, it's like everything just keep happening one after another, one after another, one after another. So we all finally went to town, got some chicken at a small mom and pop's restaurant, came back home, and the trailer, all the curtains were wide open, the lock was off the door, no sign whatsoever of forced entry. And my dad said, "All right," really swore as much as he possibly could. We're all sitting on the couch, all shaking like crazy. And it was a horrible, horribly foggy night. And you get a lot of those in Michigan when the temperature changes. And my dad says, all right, everybody get up. Let's get the hell out of here. We're leaving now. And my sister Vicky, who's the younger of the two, said, "No." something like that. And she had a kid's place. And our Springer Spaniel lady dog was on the couch, growling and barking saliving at the ceiling. And there's a stairway that goes up there where we all slept. And every morning, our clocks stopped, every single one of ours, at 6 o'clock in the morning. Plugged in, even watches that you wound up on your wrist stopped at 6 o'clock in the morning. We couldn't explain
Definitely
this.
something strange going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, so my dad grabs his shotgun, loads her up, a good old double barrel Ithaca shotgun. Goes, come on, Sammy, let's go check this out. Of course, me again, you know. And up north, a lot of people back in the day, and they probably still do, instead of having doors for doorways, they hang like curtains or blankets, you know, just to keep the breeze from going through.
Yeah.
We were walking past the doorway that goes upstairs, and it opened up as if you took your own hand with a blanket hanging in a doorway against one side of it and opened it up like, come in here. All right, that's when my dad, he literally pissed his pants. He did. He goes, Sammy, come on, let's get up them steps real quick. Everybody stay on that couch. Dog's still barking and drooling and growling. And we get up there, and the dog comes running up there, lady. And she stops at the very top step without getting to the floor. My dad's looking around, can't find nothing. And the dog slowly backed down by herself, backwards, growling. My dad said, all right, let's do it. Let's get out of here now. And by the way, we went to town to get that chicken dinner. We took the stick with us and threw it like 10 miles away into a field.
Yeah. Okay.
Where nobody could find it.
And I
So,
take it didn't show back up.
Once again, when we got back, yes, it did.
Oh, no.
It did show back. Yeah. And my dad didn't see it. It was upstairs in the corner of one of the rooms. So he took it, couldn't break it over his knee. The thing was solid, it was like petrified, like a rock. And then he goes, all right, everybody pack up, go, let's now. Right now. So we all packed up. It took us, like I said, an hour and a half to unpack. It literally took us 15 minutes to pack that truck back up. I don't want to make sure I'm missing anything. But we packed up, we left, and this place was pretty much located off of a highway, I-75. Yeah. And then you could see it. It was a good probably 15 miles off I-75, but I-75 was up on a taller ground. And when we left, we shut all the lights off. Like I said, it was foggy. My dad thought it would be a good idea to take a ride around to calm everybody down, you know, and probably went another 30 miles north of Marion. And then on the way back home, you could still, like I said, you could see the place off I-75. And the lights were on. The fog and mist had lifted. It was a beautiful, beautiful moonlit night. It looked like a card that somebody sent somebody, like pleasant greetings. Got home. My dad had, like I said, St. Germain Church, or St. Gertrude. Yeah, St. Gertrude. Contacted the priest. He looked into it until he get back to my dad. But like in 2 or 3 weeks, however long it took to investigate it, he ended up dying 2 days later, the priest.
Oh, no.
This is all Don Scott. So my dad said, screw this. And my mom, she was a pretty smart, savvy woman. She goes, why don't we just contact one of the universities? So my dad contacted Michigan State University. They looked into it. And later they found out, they said, you guys were so lucky you ever got to even get out that driveway. It was a very, very well-known Indian burial ground. And the guy's name, who owned the place, his name was Ralph Slantic, S-L-A-N-E-C. And that's an Indian. Because he's owned the place for like 25 years and never had a problem. Yeah. And the family that left before us left 3 days early. just like we did. We ended up leaving 2 days early. So Michigan State did confirm that it was a very well-known higher, what would you call the higher of the Indian chiefs in that area. It was a very popular area for Indians to be living back in the day. And all those mounds that we were standing on with a stick were Indian mounds, burial mounds. So,
Wow.
and that's what really just, and then we all kissed across when we got home on Elmdale, 28029 Elmdale, except for my cousin Tommy. And my till this day, my dad can't anymore. He passed away in 2013. But he'd give anybody $1,000 if they spend one night up there, knowing about what happened. And Michigan State definitely suggested don't do it. You know. So we all got home. We all slept. We all slept in my mom and dad's room. All of us, except for my cousin Tommy. He was like, "Oh, F that, screw that." And he's from Vegas, big spender, money man. It was, that's all a bunch of crap. It's just coincident. And 2 weeks later, he got shot in the back of his head. His brains blown out. They got home in Vegas. So needless to say, that's pretty much the end of the story. But that's enough for you to remember.
Story. There's definitely some cursed land there. Those got to watch out for those burial mounds and Indian burial grounds.
That's exactly what Michigan State said. You're so lucky. They were giving you some hints, although they may be serious to you. To them, they were very subtle for them. And my cousin Gina, as a matter of fact, my cousin Gina, Tommy, and Gino, who were from Vegas. My cousin Gina, I just spoke with about 6 months ago, and she brought this subject up to me. You can have Sammy here sitting beside me. She explained everything I just explained to you to the T, exactly what happened. And I haven't talked to her in 30 years.
Wow.
My sister Valerie, the oldest of us, she'll do the same thing. My sister Vicky, my brother Tony. It was just not right.
Yeah, well, that's
so I want to make them a believer.
Yeah, that's what I've always said, that a skeptic is just somebody that hasn't had the right experience yet. And it sounds like you had those experiences of a lifetime as far as the supernatural.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and me being, I think it was maybe 6th grade, 7th grade, maybe. I understood it perfectly because a professor that came from Michigan State to our house to explain everything to my parents. And then he showed the picture. My dad was showing pictures on a slideshow, you know, those little circle slideshow things.
Yeah.
The professor picked something up. He goes, "Well, wait, what's that?" And he was showing it on the wall, my dad. There were 2 eyes inside the house behind the big living room glass window.
Oh, wow. That gave me chills.
Yeah. Michigan, and he sent it home. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Still there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, so the professor happened to notice, we didn't notice, that the same 2 eyes that were in that field were in the house behind us in the huge picture window of the cabin. So they were around us all the time, and we didn't even know it. Yeah, and we didn't know it. It was actually sleeping and living with us.
Well, I got to ask you,
I mean,
would you go back?
Yeah,
what would it take for you to go back?
Nothing. I would not. I mean, everything. I would not go back because Sammy said he would. Okay, he didn't live it. He didn't experience.
Yeah.
But like the professor said, if you knowingly go back to a situation like this, that sacred place, they're taking that as a challenge.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? As a non-believer. So, yeah, no, I would not ever go back, ever. I won't even go through the town of Marion.
Yeah, I don't blame you there, bro.
I would make sure I go out of my way. Yeah, I would make sure I go out of my way to do a big circle around that whole entire county.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they said, what Indian tribe was there, but I'm sure you can look it up on, Facebook or whatever. But like I said, that's about pretty much all I can really remember. I think
Well,
it's enough.
that's quite a bit of detail. We appreciate that there, Sam. Thanks for telling us that amazing encounter there that
Hey, no problem.
you and your family have.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, everybody we noticed and notified, something bad happened to them. My cousin, you know, everything. Just Tommy. I mean, 2 weeks later, done, gone.
Yeah.
The priest, gone. Uh, anybody who was, anybody who wasn't a believer or had the you bet.
Well, it sounds
This
like it
wasn't
made
right.
believers out of everybody.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, I still dream about it every now and then today. You know. So well, that's pretty much what I've been meaning to want to call you about. And I'm in a
All right.
bad house, so a lot of times I just can't, do a show for you and things. But I'm glad I'm feeling a
Yeah.
little better today.
Good deal. I appreciate you taking the
And
time
Sammy,
to come on here and share that with my audience.
oh yeah, and hey, Phil, help yourself. If you want to check, look everything up, and you'll find out everything I said is true, except for the living experience part of it.
Yeah.
You can only do that by experiencing it.
Yeah. It's something you've got
So
to
you'll know about
experience
the body.
in
You'll know about
person.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sammy would like to speak with you before we hang up. So if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
It was nice meeting you, Steve.
Nice
Chatting
talking
with
to
you
you too,
and your
Sam.
audience. And like I said, this is the 1,000th of the gospel truth.
Yeah, I can tell. I can hear it in your
Here's
voice.
Sammy.
I believe every word of it. I honestly do.
Yeah. I'm getting a little starting to breathe heavy myself right now.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Sammy. That's some story there. Your dad is a natural storyteller. I enjoyed hearing that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I missed bits and pieces, but when I was in elementary, it would be a blockbuster night, but he would get us all popcorn and Reese cups, and I would always ask him. We would build our little forts to go to sleep in, and
Yeah.
I would always ask my dad to tell that story. So I missed bits and pieces,
That's still you got
but I
most of
do
it.
have a question.
Sure.
So instead of 23 and Me or whatever, if my mom was any kind of Indian, Cherokee, supposedly, would I be okay to go on the land, do you think?
I would think so. Just protect yourself. Mentally. Just to kind of steel yourself. For what's up. It's been in my experience that anytime I went into an area like that, if I knew there was stuff there, if I knew there was supernatural activity and things there, it didn't bother me as bad as just going somewhere and not having any background or anything, and then getting blindsided, getting hit with it like, whoa, what's this? Something happened here. Because I've got that empathic bit, where I can tell something feels off, something doesn't feel right. And listen to that inner voice you have, the gut feeling, your spider senses, if you will, about stuff. Listen to that. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do you think some people like can attract like stuff like that? Because nothing's really ever scary
Some people are more.
Yeah,
happened to me, and I don't
absolutely.
want to jinx it now.
Yeah, that's me. Every place just about it that I've ever lived was haunted to some degree or another from childhood on up. And I came to the realization years ago that it wasn't the places that were haunted so much as it was me that was haunted. Stuff follows me around, and it's people that have that empathic ability and stuff. Cisco Murdoch, she's paranormalist. She's been on my show a few times. She and I talked about that, and she said it's like a flame to the moth. So they can see that in the darkness. They can tell that you can sense them, that you can hear them, you can see them, you can hear their knocks, sense their presence or whatever. And therefore, they're attracted to you to try to get your attention. And that's just the way they handle things, I guess. Kind of scary to think about.
Yeah. That's yeah. And my dad said really quick that when they were staying, they would hear like little feet running across the top floor. And I think that's another reason why Lady went off.
Yeah, that's
But
frightening. And those red eyes, that's a scary part. I mean, anytime you see that eye shine, that's freaky.
Excuse me. Well, I know it's probably a silly question, but dogs and kids really love me, and not like Jared from Subway. But do you think maybe that's another reason why nothing really scares me, or not, or doesn't scare me, but like tries to hurt me or anything?
It could be. Animals and children are good senses of character for the most part. So, yeah, animals always liked me. So, I think there's something to that. And animals, a lot of them, particularly dogs and cats, seem to have some sort of sixth sense. They can tell when something weird is going on. And I've had animals that would sit and stare at the ceiling or look at a spot where there was nothing there and watch it very intently and things like that. So I think that's an innate ability in animals and something that we had as humans at one time, but it's either been bred or educated out of us. And, most people don't believe stuff. Even people that have had some experiences have a hard time believing it. But it's like I was telling your dad, that I've always said a skeptic is just somebody that hasn't had the right experience yet.
Yeah. The only I guess I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the really scary thing that happened to me. I was in middle school, and I know it's probably just weather patterns, but we rented The Exorcist. I was 13, and then I had a huge sleepover, boys and girls, but we all camped out in the living room, so no funny business. We watched The Exorcist, and the sky. What was it on at the apartment? North Shore. Yeah, North Shore Apartments. And the sky stayed red all night. But other than that, being a little kid running up the stairs at the basement, making sure nothing grabs your legs, nothing really. Are you a fan of that movie?
I didn't see it till
Or
I
do
was
you
an
have any?
adult, and I find it very disturbing. Stuff like that scares me. The stuff with the demonic and things like that. My brother was an evangelical preacher, and part of his ministry, he had a deliverance ministry, and he would cast demons and things out of people. I never stuck around for that part of the service because it talks about in the Bible when Christ cast demons out, he cast them into the swine dove off into the sea. And I thought about that, if he's casting demons out of people, they've got to go somewhere when they come out. So I didn't want to hang around that, but I believe in that stuff. And that's the stuff that genuinely scares me. Ghosts, cryptids, dogman, all that kind of stuff, Bigfoot. I'm curious about it, but it doesn't really scare me. But anything demonic or of a satanic nature, that scares me. I don't want to fool around with anything like that. Black magic or curses or anything like that. Stuff's very real, in my opinion.
Yeah, that movie. I don't want to not copying off my dad, but I still think about maybe 4 times a year about how her bed would shake. I was scared to death until like after high school. Like my bed would start doing that. And then probably a week after I watched Exorcist, my grandpa, being the funny guy he is, hey Sammy, if whatever you believe in can be real. And then my brain would go right back to that bed shaking. I was scared to death to sleep.
And that's kind of a Native American thing too.
It's
We
like,
talked about that before the show, that uh, speaking the names of certain things or even thinking about certain entities. There are certain tribes that elders in those tribes believe that that can draw things to you just by mentioning it or thinking about it. And especially at night in the woods, there's stuff that the Cherokee, they would caution you, the elders would caution you not to talk about. Wendigo, Spearfinger, um, shapeshifters, any of that stuff. And that's all. It doesn't matter which tribe, they've all got similar things in their folklore, from the Algonquins here in New England to the Cherokee to the Navajo and the Apache out west and the Yakima. I've been, I lived right on the edge of the Navajo reservation when I was in New Mexico. There's some serious, serious dark magic out there in the desert.
and well, there's no way that's a coincidence, right? I know stories can get misconstrued, like how I didn't explain my dad's story, right? But over time, when stories get passed down, there's got to be some truth to it.
Yeah, all those legends and folklore and stuff like the crybaby bridges and things like that. I think there's a nugget of truth in there. Something happened somewhere that started that story. And it's kind of like the telephone game. If you ever played that where you're in school, where one person starts and whispers to the next person and so on and so forth. And by the time you
Yeah,
get to the
yeah.
last person, the stories change completely. Because my mom and dad grew up in different parts. My dad grew up in Middle Tennessee. My mom grew up in East Tennessee, miles and miles apart, hundreds of miles apart. But some of the same stories my mom had heard growing up in the Cades Cove area of the Smokies, my dad had also heard those on the Cumberland Plateau when he was growing up. So, but a different area. And I think what it is, when somebody hears a story like that, a piece of folklore or legend or whatever, and they're telling it to people in a different location, they'll maybe make it local just so it makes more sense so the person will know where they're talking about. And that's just my theory on the way folklore and legends get passed around.
See, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I know, and then plus, if you're trying to tell something, you want to, or maybe exaggerate it. But I mean, I think there's got to be some truth to. It's like, I don't know. I'm a huge Loch Ness monster is my favorite thing in the world. I don't know if it's real. Do you believe in that?
I do.
Possibly,
I actually
it could
do.
be
I've
real.
seen some evidence. Excuse me. I've seen some evidence that would point toward that. I think there's something there in the loch. Now, I don't know if it's some
No,
kind of
Canada.
creature or if it's some sort of dinosaur type thing that's a holdover that's not extinct, or if it's something that's unknown and a true cryptid. I'm not sure, but I think there is something in the loch. There's too many reports otherwise.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Off topic, really quick. My dad said it was the Chippewas that was their land.
Oh, okay, Chippewa. It's okay.
But
Now,
doesn't
go ahead.
Canada have? Sorry, doesn't Canada have like a not a bobo? I forget the name of it. By Vancouver, somewhere over there, like some kind of Loch Ness or the Tobago, or
Yeah, there's
drawing a
several
blank.
different ones. I'm drawing a blank too. See, Lake Monsters. I know Lake Champlain has a monster. Vermont. Let's see.
I heard of the chip.
Mississippi, which is in Lake Superior, Canada, the U.S. Of course, Nessie. There's Morag, which is in Loch Morar in Scotland. There's some kind of one, I can't even pronounce that, Lagerflot in Iceland. Ogopogo is in Okanagan Lake in Canada. That's one. And then Champ in Lake Champlain. So you got a lot of lakes up there. So Lake Monsters kind of goes with the territory. But I wanted to ask you, what have you heard about Bigfoot? That the modern day, or not Bigfoot, rather Dogman. The modern day Dogman sightings, a lot of those started in Michigan, particularly in the northern lower peninsula.
Did I? Oh, did you recently? This guy shot. I'm allowed to even say it with copyright or whatever. He got like like an old vintage camera, and he made like a little short snippet. It's on YouTube about Dogman, and he's supposedly on his son's on the snowmobile, and then I don't know if Dogman. See, what would be the difference between Dogman and a werewolf?
Well, a dog man,
That's
that's thought to be some sort of hybrid, where a werewolf is something that's passed along, kind of like vampirism. You have to be bit by a werewolf to become a werewolf. You have to get turned, and it's also a curse. I guess that's how the first werewolf came to be. It's a curse that's put on people, whereas dog man is just kind of its own entity. But there's a lot of stories up there. Going back at Michigan History Center, they talked about Michigan dogman sightings, which go back to at least the 1800s. Beast has been on the mind of Michiganders for the last 130 years, starting in 1887. That's when two lumberjacks saw a creature they described as having a man's body and a dog's head. And according to legends, they kind of appear to humans in a 10-year cycle that falls particularly on years ending in the number 7. So a couple more years, we should have a Dogman flap. But Traverse City.
the only thing that makes me. Yeah, Traverse City. That's a beautiful, but do you, with everyone like literally has a camera on in their hand, like phone. I mean, shouldn't there be proof of something by now? That's the only thing that gets me.
Yeah, you
like
would
all
think
the
so.
trail cams.
With everybody that's got trail cams and camera phones and all this. I've had a lot of people ask that, why are there no clear pictures of these? Now, comedian Mitch Hedberg, I mean, he was telling a joke, but I believe he's probably closer to the truth than he thought. He said there are no clear photos of Bigfoot because Bigfoot itself is blurry, a blurry creature. And, that kind of makes sense. Maybe it vibrates at a different frequency, and it would be hard to take a picture of it. And that's what it uses as camouflage, kind of like what a chameleon does, change the color of its skin. Bigfoot can change its vibration to higher or lower. So I think it's possible.
What other, well, for pro Bigfoot, what other animal, or I guess maybe a person only, who would throw rocks and all the like banging on or scratching trees? I know maybe bears sharpening their claws or they have a niche or something, but who else would see that stuff? I don't think can
the
be
whoops
explained.
and the howls and the
the
tree
howl.
knocks and things. I've heard a lot of that stuff out in the woods. It's just there's no known animal that does those things. Not really.
I've heard like well, I don't know all the animals, but I heard bobcats, lynxes. I mean, they can make some funky sounds, especially when you're in the middle of the woods, say if you're camping out in a tent. But I don't think anything compares to what people explain. And then boulders getting tossed like they're rag dolls.
Yeah. And some of the stories in Alaska where they have them picking up construction equipment and flinging it and things like that. A bear can't do that or anything else. A human can't do that. So it's definitely something big and scary and pissed off out there.
And obviously, I drove through Tennessee. That's probably the most beautiful state. And then be careful because of rock slides. But if stuff's getting tossed and you're in the middle of the woods, I don't think a rock slide really, and intentionally like not hitting you, but close to like almost like a warning.
Yeah. I was up in the Jefferson National Forest one time hiking at night. I used to like to do that, just wear a headlamp, and go off trail, kind of bushwhack. And I'd been hearing the tree knocks and the howls and yips and whoops and stuff. And then I got into an area and I heard something hitting the ground, and I looked, and it was these round, flat river rocks, and they were coming out of the woods at me. And I didn't feel them hitting me, but I heard them hit the ground. I picked one of them up, and it was warm to the touch, almost hot. And I was a long way from where there would be any river rocks. And I turned around and went the other direction and got out of there. And
Yeah.
I thought at first that was, Bigfoot attacking me or throwing these rocks at me, but it wasn't anything lobbing them. They were flying straight out of the woods, like almost in a straight line. And I thought about that later. I think they were warning me against something. There was probably a bear or a big cat or something back in those woods at night. Like I said, I'm out there with a helmet on, just messing around. But there was something back there that I didn't want to run into. And Bigfoot, if that's what it was warning me gently. I mean, they'd been doing the tree knocks and the yips and yows and stuff. When that didn't turn me around, then they started throwing the rocks. And I think it would have gotten more violent if I'd continued on, because they didn't want me to run. Probably a mountain lion or a grizzly, or not a grizzly, but a big bear or something. But who knows? I got out of there. The rocks stopped, and that's the rest of the story.
Does Alaska have anything? I know Bigfoot's
There's
probably
a ton of stuff up there. One of the most fascinating ones is called the Kushtaka. It's like instead of a dog man, it's otter man. It's an otter with like a man's body. The head of an otter. It has human features, and it can shapeshift. It can change. It can mimic. I have a pastor friend of mine that's stationed in Alaska. He's an Army chaplain. He's been on this show a few times. All kinds of stuff up there. They've got black-eyed kids. They've got Bigfoot or hairy wild men. They've got a wild woman up there in one part of Alaska. Then they've got these
the
other
one. Besides
shapeshifters. What's that?
Your black-eyed children story when you had the Miata. I think it was Vegas.
Yeah, no, that was in
that one
Knoxville,
gives me the heebie.
Yeah, that one gives me the heebie.
Oh, it was intense.
That's the most frightened I've ever been in my entire life. And I've been in some scary situations.
Oh, that's right. Because you said you went to your parents' house, right?
Yeah, they were living.
You pulled in. Yeah.
I was just out of my mind with fear. I've never felt a fear like that. And that one, I believe it was something demonic. I don't think that was two little girls at all. I think that was just however it was presenting itself. Kind of a screen memory or projection or something like that. I don't think it was two little girls at all, just because of the fear that was coming off of them.
And you looked, were the eye sockets empty or just were the eyes black?
The eyes were black. The eyes were present, but they were just blacker than black. They weren't empty. When they got under the street light there, I could see, the light reflected on the eyeball, and it was just black. Like no pupil, no iris or cornea or anything, just black, like a black ball in there.
I don't want to sound like I'm cheating on you, but I was listening to another podcast.
Oh, be my guest.
The night before last. Yeah, but I won't give a shout out, and I forgot who it was, anyways. But national parks. This guy touched on some. He's like, they close them off like certain periods. Like I can't think of the park offhand, but just say Yosemite, for example. They like every 4 or 5 months they close off certain parts, and the rangers aren't allowed. And he was talking about like military releasing like animal hybrid things.
They go in there. That's according to some people, that's how Dogman got started. That it's a military experiment where they were trying to build a super soldier. But yeah, that's the containment theory, and Yosemite is one of the places where it allegedly happens. As Great Smoky Mountains National Park too, in Tennessee. A lot of weird stuff in Yosemite. I've covered a lot of cases out of there. Sammy, we need
Can
to
I
take
ask
a
your
little break.
opinion on the area?
Let's take a little
Sorry.
break, and I'll answer your question when we get back. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, folks. Enjoy.
Okay.
Attention all Ground Zero fans. Aftermath.media is celebrating our 4-year anniversary with a spectacular deal just for you. For a limited time, you can get an Aftermath Premium yearly subscription for only $79. That's right, just $79 for a full year of exclusive content, ad-free listening, and premium features. Dive into a world of incredible stories, top-tier journalism, and the best in entertainment. Whether you're a longtime listener or new to Ground Zero, this is the perfect time to join the Aftermath family. Don't miss out on this amazing anniversary special. Visit Aftermath.media today and sign up for your Aftermath Premium yearly subscription at just $79. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Celebrate with us and elevate your media experience to the next level. Aftermath.media, the ultimate resource for parapolitical and paranormal fans. Visit Aftermath.media and subscribe today. That's Aftermath.media.
Well, it's one thing to be upset with someone. Yeah, one thing to hold a grudge over one mistake. Oh, one mistake isn't much to make. It's one mistake. And you're sorry, you're so sorry. But it's just the calm before the storm. Someday the clouds will break so that the sun can shine. Well, ain't it something to be in love with someone?
Yeah, and that was the calm before the storm from Lee G, First Floor Audio. And we're back here with Sam talking about spooky stuff in Michigan. And Sam, before the break, you had a question for me, I think.
Yeah, I forgot the question, but I do have another question. I know
Okay.
this is the inner child. If you could become a werewolf or vampire, would you?
I don't know. I've thought about that.
Or
I like the idea, especially the vampire, because in film they're always portrayed as real suave and debonair and stuff. But I don't know. You probably get to a point where you just be tired. I mean, living 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years. I don't know. It'd get to be a drudgery after a while, I think. How about you? Would you do it?
in what? I don't know. Watching everyone you love pass away would stink. So
Yeah.
I think I would have to make them vampires too,
Yeah.
so we could all stick around together.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Make it a family affair.
I think a werewolf would be painful.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're like a werewolf in London. When you turn, it looked painful. And you do that once a month, every full moon, every 28 days.
it's actually not a werewolf movie, but it kind of is. I don't know. Actually, Steve,
Yeah.
is there any way you could send the link to my dad's phone? My phone's about to die, and he has a way better phone.
Give my phone number if you want. Not on the air, though.
Probably.
Or I could link. I don't know how to.
Does he have Facebook?
Yeah, but not on your phone though.
No.
Could you? Oh shoot.
Just when he gets up there to hang on so we can change numbers.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I can sit over here. This phone. I'll be all right.
Okay. Good deal. Got it worked out there.
Yeah, the phone charges on.
You don't want everybody
Okay.
on that phone.
Good deal. Sorry about that, folks. Having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, sorry, Steve.
Nah, no worries. If that's the worst thing that ever happens to us, we'll be okay. 100 years from now, nobody will know the difference. Have you ever heard of the Michigan melon heads? They're these small humanoid type creatures with a large head that inhabit the woods in Holland, Michigan. Now, some people claim it was just children with hydrocephalus that were locked away in an asylum. But then they said that they turned them out and they went feral and hid in the forest still by, and apparently they're still in the area. And UFO sightings.
Wait, where at?
That was in Holland, Michigan.
Yeah, you were there.
I've been to Holland, Michigan, but
Didn't see any melon heads.
no, I'm not familiar.
Well, there's been a lot of UFO
Well, no, besides me.
Michigan's.
See,
See, there was 1994 UFO flap, Battle Creek UFO incident, Dexter UFO incident, mysterious disappearances. Jimmy Hoffa, I bet your dad remembers when he went missing in 75.
Well, yeah, well, I think I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, but I think we know what happened to Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
Not to get off
We can talk about
topic, but he.
Don't say anything that's worth
Yeah, I won't say anything. Sorry, Dad.
involved. We're definitely related.
If you just
Yeah,
look at my
secrets there,
Uncle
that's
Izzy,
okay.
I'm not going to say old one. Yeah, well, I'm just, yeah. He has a whole book. It's called The Vatican Connection. Uncle Izzy, big time Vegas person. Where Gino and everyone. Yeah.
Arrested Vatican for
But
carrying money for mafia.
UFOs, don't you think like the military kind of like everyone thought was F-117 stealth bomber or the B-52, like all those were UFOs at the time, and that's in the 70s.
Especially the Aurora. But I I don't know. I think there's some military involvement there. I think it's test planes and things like that they're not willing to talk about for reasons of national security. But then there are ones that have been seen, before the military industrial complex and all that got a hold of everything. So all kinds of stuff out there. Who knows? But I think some of it is military.
Yeah. Let's see.
Ask Steve, how can I ever get a hold of him to talk with some
Facebook Messenger. Sorry, my dad was asking how to contact you. Is it okay if he messages you? Sorry.
Yeah,
Through
absolutely.
Facebook?
Yeah.
All right.
Send me a friend request, and we message on there just like you and I do.
Okay. Yeah, Dad just add him as a friend. All right. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no problem.
But this is kind of back to aliens and UFOs. Well, actually, Bigfoot. Do you think that's actually like interdimensional type stuff?
Yeah, I think that
I
has
don't
that
even know if that's a real thing.
too. It's, I think there's portals, time slips, things like that that can and do happen, under certain conditions.
So we're all right. Well, to pick your brain, if Bigfoot can just, where does it go? Like into a cave and goes back to where would it go back to?
I think it'd
Or
be
I don't know how.
either an alternate dimension or another timeline. I think that some Bigfoot are interdimensional travelers, and if you notice these things that they build in the woods, like the nests and things, there'd be a pyramid shape to it. I think they got stranded here and they're trying to build something, trying to build a portal to get back, but they don't know what they're doing or something like that. It does. I don't know. I don't understand everything I know about it.
Do you think it's like Planet of the Apes type thing almost?
Possibly.
Like they're
or that
like
they're
they
a
have their
lower
own
order.
planet.
So that could be, or that they're a lower order based on some other planet, maybe a reptilian planet or something like that. And the Bigfoot are like the grunts or the workers, that they're not the top of the food chain, not the apex predator, but they go out and do the will of whoever their overlords are.
No, I'm not doing it.
Oh, all right. Skipping topics again. What about that? Did you hear about the the third sea that they found in the middle of the Earth? It's kind of like
No.
the King Kong Godzilla movie.
No, I hadn't heard about that. And enlighten us.
That was that was Lake Loch Ness? Or Ness? No. Wait. All right, now I'm getting confused. Sorry, I was talking to you in my head. So, no way. They found one? So, I thought the core of the Earth. Steve, do you know anything about that?
No, I hadn't heard about it. So what did you hear?
Well, I guess they found the sea, like, I know there's the crust and all that, and then, like, right in between where we're at and then the core of the Earth, there's like a lake or sea down there. Huh. My dad just told me about it. I've never even heard of it. So what would be down there?
I don't know. Maybe reptilians. It's kind of lizard, something that's cold-blooded, because it would have to be if it's the heat down there, or something that could withstand the heat. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that could go.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research on that and maybe do an episode on it at some point.
Shoot. So Nessie probably wouldn't. Do you know Lake or Loch Ness? or the lock. That's probably what, cold water?
Yeah, I would think so. If it's like most fresh water, it'd be around 50 something degrees Fahrenheit year round on the lower parts of it. Let's see what else I've got here. Hey, Jimmy
Do you
Hobb, Lake
believe in?
Michigan Triangle. There's a lot of disappearances there. And there's a mystery spot in St. Ignace. Have you ever been there? It's a tourist attraction where the laws of physics seem to be defied. They have those different mystery spots
Heard of
around.
it? Never.
Yeah. And what else? Thunderbird. There was a giant Thunderbird-like creature sighted somewhere in Michigan. I'd see if I could find out some more information here. It's been sighted in Alaska.
I've heard of one of those in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yep, like a pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greenville, Pennsylvania, and then somewhere I'm not finding it here in my notes, but there was someone spotted one in Michigan at some point. It's been seen in Arizona. I've seen one in the Smokies too. The Native Americans have a story of a giant thunderbird. No, I think that's maybe just like a holdover, dinosaur type thing that's still around.
You do believe it's still around?
Well, there people claim to still see it, so something's out there. I don't know if it's a holdover from the dinosaurs
Yeah.
or if it's a misidentified species or something supernatural or paranormal.
I wonder. Well, I know as my brain's working overtime. Do you think maybe Bigfoot could just be like a giant gorilla that actually adapted to the cold?
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility.
Or that's not?
Yeah, there's different. Was it?
Because
There's a theory like that. I can't think of the name of the creature now, but it's similar. It's like kind of like the missing link between apes and man, and that the people think that's what a Bigfoot is. And one particular school of thought.
that could almost, or maybe I don't know. The dimension thing throws me off. How they could. So if Bigfoots could go interdimensional, that would mean time travel is real,
Would mean it's
and we
possible.
just don't know about it. Or
it wouldn't necessarily be interdimensional. Wouldn't necessarily equal time travel, but it could. Time slips could account for that, but it'd be the dimension that's parallel with ours, a parallel universe, another dimension that coexists alongside this one. And I like that theory because sometimes things bleed over, come into one or the other. It makes me wonder if there is another dimension out there. If sometimes there's visitors from here in that dimension and they see strange things that they can't explain in whatever place that is. It may be like Land of the Lost, where there's dinosaurs and slee stacks and no telling what, but I think that exists. I think there's something strange out there that coexists.
and do you? Oh man. See, the only thing is with technology the way it is today, unless there was like an EMP or something that kills all devices, that's the only thing that makes me a skeptic.
How so? I'm trying to follow your logic there.
Well, no, we were talking about like trail cams and everything. Like
Yeah.
with everything, like, well, EMP, like you kill electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah, it would
Like
fry
it kills
with
everything
a
electromagnetic.
computer or an integrated circuit in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're a tech guy. All right, yeah. Oh, my dad found it. It's like the fifth ocean. Northwestern University found it. And it's bigger than all
Water.
water on Earth, I guess.
That's fascinating. Yeah, send me a link to that, and I'll look into it. Right up my alley. I love stuff like that. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this episode of Everything Out There. Sammy, thank you for joining me here tonight. Thanks for your dad for coming on, tell us some stories. Going to have Lee G play us on out of here with MP3, I'm sorry, with Shutters. Here you go. Thanks again, Sam. I appreciate you. Hang around just a second.
On the airwaves, Steve stopped and roams. Tales of ghosts and haunted homes. Through the static, weirdness flows. Mysteries in the dark it shows. Whispered voices laid